Alright, welcome back everybody. We're going to do a tomato review today on this tomato right there, and that is called the Evil Olive. And it's quite a gorgeous tomato. I've been looking and eyeballing this tomato now for a couple of years. Been wanting to grow it, just haven't gotten around to it because they grow so many other varieties. But this year we finally got around to it, and here it is. And it's quite a beautiful tomato. And so these tomatoes, where are you there? Sorry about that. These tomatoes are very, very dark green. They look like an olive, basically, and the color of an olive. And if you look at it when they get ripe, they start getting yellow on the bottom. But when they first start getting ripe, you can't tell. This is very ripe. These been sitting out for a little while. And so that's what they look like. It's a very gorgeous looking tomato. I mean, look at that. Right? I'll show you another one. That is absolutely... Now, it's a good producer. This thing put out quite a few tomatoes so far this year. So we do got quite a bit of tomatoes to go through. But these are the first couple that came off. And this is like the larger one here. But this is about the size. They get a little bigger than this. Maybe... They get... I don't know. For some reason, this one's round. But they get more like egg-like. If I could just stop that from rolling away. They get more like this, but they get large, though. These things can get pretty large. It can get to, you know, a good size, almost... I don't want to call them Roma tomatoes, because that's not what they are. They're not really pear tomatoes or grape tomatoes or plum tomatoes. It's just that, whatever this is. And this is really strange. So look at the inside of this thing. I knew it was going to go on the ground. Down on the ground you go. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? This is very typical for the inside of these tomatoes. Man, that is absolutely gorgeous, guys. Look at that. Isn't that nice? So let's put you on the scale and get an idea what the weight is. Some people like to see the weight of these things for some reason. I get that request. I never included it before, but a lot of people have been asking me to weigh them, so I guess they want to see what the weight is. Okay, so that's it right there. Let's put that sucker right on there. If it not roll away. And it's about 38 grams or 1.3 ounces. And over here, 46 grams or 1.6 ounces. Okay, so, and again, that's just to give you an idea of, you know, the typical weight for these things. And of course, you know, they will be smaller as well like that. So let me back you out a little bit and get ready for the, here, I'll show you really quick. You see all the tomatoes I got to do the reviews on? I mean, I got so many tomatoes, guys, it's ridiculous. So let's get you on the bricks. Things aren't stable here anymore these days. They're all over the place. So let's see what the brick says. Alright, it's about almost 4.5. It's very close to 4.5. It's very close. Basically, you could say 4.5. It's a 4.5, so it's kind of on the low side. Though I did have a couple of these already, and I'm going to give that a go. Okay, so let's get on with the review. So, we're going to start with the sweetness. I'm going to give the sweetness a low number at this time because it was just not as sweet. But, however, I have eaten a couple of these already before. And this particular tomato happened to be a little bit lower on the sweetness side. I'm not sure why. But the other ones I eaten before had a little bit more sweetness than that. So, for now, I'm just going to... if I was to rate it based off of this tomato by itself, I would probably say about a 23 to 24. But because I've had a couple of these before, these tomatoes, and they were a little sweeter and the flavor was a little bit more balanced, maybe because I just ate the whole thing in one, you know, I just put the whole thing in my mouth and ate it, basically. And maybe I got a better fuller flavor from that. I'm not sure. Let's see, what here I'm only eating half at a time, and I'm kind of squeezing some of the seeds out, and so maybe that might have something to do with it. But I'm going to go with average on the sweetness this time. The tangy part was pretty good. I'm going to put that at about a 28 on that tangy. Again, 25 is average. That's middle of the road between 0 and 50. So I'm going to go a little higher than that. We're going to say 28. And then on the tomato flavor, again, we talk about tomato flavor in this particular rating part here, it's how strong was that flavor, how prominent was it. This flavor wasn't that prominent. The tangy part really had the highest resonance in here, but the flavor of the tomato and the sweetness combined with that combination that gives you the tomato flavor, it was kind of on low. The tangy part was really the bright part here for me. It was really kind of, you know, it was, you could really pick up on the tangy part. It really, that part really worked really good. It was just the sweetness was rather low, and the tomato flavor itself, the whole flavor of the tomato was kind of on the low side. I was a little bit kind of disappointed with that, but it is what it is. It's still a good tomato. If you get a lot of them and you make a sauce out of it, you're not going to know that much of a difference of what I'm talking about. This review is really geared more towards fresh eating the tomato, just so you know that. As far as moisture goes, it was good moisture. I'm going to go on the good side of that number. I'm going to say about a 6 to 6.5. That was about where it was. Moisture was absolutely right where it should be. Tardy and sour, there was a very slight bit of tardiness, but it was really low. Again, the tardiness, when I talk about tardiness, I'm talking about that weird tardy feeling that you get sometimes by your salivation glands right behind your lower jaw. And if you eat lemons or things like that, you can really activate that quite a bit, and it almost feels uncomfortable. Well, I've trained myself to pick that up in tomatoes, and I could kind of pick that up a little bit. And that's a nice feature when you have it in the background, very little. It's a nice little feature. It really helps you salivate as you eat the tomato. So yeah, there was just a tiny bit of that. Undertones, there was a little something on this tomato. It was kind of a strange flavor, aside from like the tomato flavor. There's like a strange, either undertone or overtone. Undertones meaning it's kind of in the aftertaste, and overtone would really be an upfront berry type flavor you usually get right at the beginning. It's like the fructose right in the beginning when you first eat it. You could kind of get that right in the beginning. But this is generally undertones I focus on, and that's really the flavor that lingers backwards or after you eat it, and it starts to go into that back of your tongue, and it's the lingering part of the aftertaste. I didn't really get too much out of it, though there was something in there, and it was kind of a strange one. But it wasn't uncomfortable and didn't taste like something you'd want to spit out, basically. As far as texture goes, the texture was perfect on it. It was a nice, thick, meaty tomato. I mean, I'll cut one open for you. I'll cut that nice one open for you. You could see the texture on this tomato is very, very nice. I really like the rind part of it, the way that the rind is. You can see when I cut it with my knife how crisp of a cut that is on that tomato skin. It's very, very nice. Very delectable type of texture on that. I'm actually going to put that texture, we'll probably put that around an 8 or a 9. It was very high in the texture. The texture was like picture perfect type of texture. And that really includes the seeds too. If you look at those seeds, you see they're fully attached to the rind. You can see the wilding in the rind, right? You see all that stuff. Gorgeous that way. I mean, there ain't too many tomatoes that I rate that high when it comes to texture. Production was pretty good. I'm going to put that a little bit above average. Production with 0 to 10, I would say production was probably around a 6. It was something like that. It wasn't anything really spectacular, but it seemed pretty good. Like average is normal average type of producing tomato. You usually get your 3 or 4 bracts on there with, say, 3 or 4 or 5 saladette sized tomatoes hanging off of each one of those. That's about an average. This was about that plus a little bit more. It was pretty good producer. Right? You got quite a few of these on there. I don't remember this being a multiflora. This may have been a multiflora. I don't remember. I have to go and look at the plant, and I'm not going back there now. But so yeah, the production was. I'm going to say again a little bit above the above average. Go somewhere around a 6 with the production. As far as the skins go, they're going to go. Skins, when I talk about skins, if it's a really tough skin and the stuff's getting stuck to the roof of your mouth, it's going to get like a 1 rating. If it just breaks up with the tomato and you almost don't even notice it has skins, that's going to go to the 10 rating, right? So we're going to go high or low with that. Now this one, the skins were like basically perfect. They broke up with the texture of that tomato, really, really good. I'm going to give that pretty high rating on the skins. I'm going to go about an 8 or 9, and I went in the 8 or a 9 on texture too. So those two are very, very high for this tomato. It's a very pleasant type of an appealing feeling in your mouth when you're eating it. That's the effect. That's what I'm really focusing on with this more than anything. The effect was really professionally nice. It's something that you'd want to serve in a restaurant. That type of texture is even better than commercial. That's like gourmet, to be honest with you. Seeds, I'm going to put that, I might even go a little more than average. I mean, you could see this thing's got a good amount of seeds. I could probably say it's just average. It might be a little slightly higher. So you go 5, maybe 5.5. If it was very seedy, it'd be all the way at 10. If it's no seeds at all or seedless, you'd be down by 0 basically. And so what's my overall rating of this tomato? I'm probably going to rate this tomato, I'll rate it about a 3.5 from here down. So one would be you know, #1 rating. I'd probably rate this at about a 3.5. It's not the worst. It's pretty good. A 3.5 is when people think when I say, oh, you're 3, you're 4. Oh, that's a shit tomato. No. That's not. It's not a bad tomato if it's somewhere in those numbers. Even 5 is actually a good number, to be honest with you. Store-rated tomatoes are basically like, if I was to pick a store-rated tomato, I would probably be around a 4 most of the time. So those Roma tomatoes, or you get those little ones in the baskets. Camparis would probably be somewhere around 5s, you know, store-bought Campari tomatoes. You know, so they're not as, I don't rate those as high as I would with these, but still, it's not a bad number for a tomato, to be honest with you, 3.5. Everybody's like expecting #1. I don't rate my tomatoes like that. I'm kind of pushing it in a number where it's realistic. And when you go to eat the tomato, you'll be like, okay, I can see why, you know, maybe some of the reasons why he didn't say it was #1 or #2. So that's how I rate the tomatoes. But this year with this tomato, I'm probably going to go to 3.5. I might pick that number up next year if I grow it again in buckets and it does something different and I get a different flavor. Maybe the flavor will pick up a little bit more. I'm not sure. Maybe I need more lime in the soil for this one. However, that's basically it, guys. That's your tomato review for the Evil Olive Tomato. What I'm going to do is I'll leave links in the description. I'll bring you right over to my website, and you could purchase seeds there and if you decide that you want to grow it. And I will also leave whatever information I get in the description below and on the website. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you on the next one. Take care.